She screamed at me about wasting taxpayer money on pointless military exercises in front of our dinner guests. That's when I stopped respecting her. 8 months later, divorce papers under a coffee mug. Me on a plane to Ireland. She remarried fast. Livestream wedding. Perfect until one comment destroyed everything. Then she called me screaming. I was 4,000 miles away, finally breathing. My name's Garrett Sullivan Pierce. I'm 58 years old. And 8 months ago, I did something most men my age only dream about during their morning coffee. I divorced my wife of 25 years, liquidated everything I could fit in 2 duffel bags, and moved to County Cork, Ireland. No shouting match in the driveway, no dramatic confrontation, just divorce papers under her surgical instruments case, my house keys on top, and a note that read, "Everything's yours. I'm gone." I was a career Air Force officer for 20 years, then worked as an architect back in Colorado Springs. Built office complexes, government buildings, the kind of structures that serve a purpose without trying to impress anyone. Good pension, respect in the community, a beautiful house near the Air Force Academy that my wife Brooke decorated like a medical magazine spread. From the outside, we looked successful. From the inside, I was suffocating. Brooke worked as a cosmetic surgeon. She performed procedures on tech wives and military spouses who wanted to look like Instagram filters. Somewhere along the way, she started believing our life should match the lifestyle she was selling. Nothing was ever enough. The granite countertops had to be replaced with Italian marble. The Italian marble had to be from a specific quarry in Tuscany that only 5 people in Colorado knew about. She called my military service 20 years of taxpayer-funded camping trips. I stopped arguing around year 20. Started sleeping in my home office around year 22. By year 25, I realized I was living with a woman who happened to share my last name and resented every decision I'd ever made that didn't revolve around her career. We had 2 kids before we got married. Claire is 29 now, works as an investigative journalist in Chicago. Sharp as a tack, inherited my methodical thinking and her mother's determination. She saw through Brooke's act years before I found the courage to leave. Then there's Preston, 26, practicing law in Denver. Smart kid, but he bought into his mother's version of reality. Thought I was the problem. Emotionally distant, living in the past, couldn't appreciate modern success. All Brooke's words coming out of his mouth. The back injury happened 4 months before I left. Old military injury that flared up, the kind that reminds you that your body keeps score of everything you've put it through. My doctor said the word stress 12 times in one appointment. I drove home that day, watched Brooke screaming into her phone about a patient's botched recovery, and realized something. I could collapse in this house and she wouldn't notice until someone pointed out my body was blocking her walk-in closet. So I started planning quietly, methodically, the way you plan any important mission. I spent 6 months restructuring everything. My military pension went into a separate account. The house got refinanced with loans Brooke never knew existed. I made sure everything looked legitimate on paper because it was legitimate, just strategically arranged. The house, the cars, the medical practice investment, all hers, along with the debt securing it all. The morning I left, Colorado was still dark. I drove myself to Denver International, parked in long-term, and didn't look back. By the time Brooke woke up and found my note, I was somewhere over the Atlantic, drinking terrible airplane coffee and feeling something I hadn't felt in years, peace. Now I wake up to church bells in Cork, drink coffee that actually tastes like something, and walk along the River Lee watching boats that are going somewhere. I'm learning woodworking from a 70-year-old craftsman named Seamus who doesn't care about my military rank or my ex-wife's medical degrees. I swim in the Atlantic. I've learned enough Irish to order a pint and apologize for my terrible accent. I haven't spoken to Brooke since I left, didn't check her social media, didn't ask mutual friends. I already knew how it would play. She'd grieve for a week, rage for 2, then find someone new to fill the void she called a marriage. And I was right. I found out through a message from someone I barely remembered, but that's a story for later. Right now I'm sitting in my cottage in Cork, watching the sunset turn the river into liquid gold, and I'm about to tell you what happened when Brooke's perfect new life collided with the past she tried to erase. Life in Ireland had a rhythm I'd forgotten existed. No morning briefings, no conference calls, no Brooke's voice cutting through the day asking why I chose the wrong brand of organic supplements. Just me, the Atlantic breeze, and a country that had survived centuries of hardship and still knew how to take a breath. I'd been there 5 months when a message came through. I was at my usual spot, a small pub in Cork where the owner, Patrick, had stopped trying to correct my pronunciation and just smiled when I ordered. I was sketching the harbor across the street, something I picked up to keep my hands busy, when my phone buzzed. Facebook message from Shane Mitchell, a guy I'd served with in Germany. We'd lost touch around the Bush administration. His profile picture showed him graying at the temples, holding a golden retriever, looking satisfied with retirement. The message was short. "Hey Garrett, long shot here. Not sure if you care, but thought you should know. Brooke's getting married. Next week, some big live stream wedding thing. Guy named Wade Thompson, owns a bunch of medical practices. Figured you'd want a heads up. Take care, brother." I read it twice, set my phone down, picked up my pint. The glass was cool against my palm. Solid. Real. I wasn't angry, I wasn't hurt, I was curious. The way you're curious about a movie you walked out of halfway through. Wade Thompson. I knew the name. Flashy guy. Always showed up at medical conferences in expensive suits that were trying too hard. Drove a different luxury car every quarter like he was running a personal showroom. He'd flirted with Brooke at a charity gala 3 years ago. I remembered because she'd laughed too loud at his jokes, the kind of laugh that's meant to be noticed. I opened my laptop. Her Instagram was public because of course it was. Brooke lived for visibility. The feed was exactly what I expected. Engagement photos that looked like they cost more than my cottage rent. Her in white, him in navy, both of them holding champagne flutes against a sunset that was definitely photoshopped. The captions were poetry written by someone who'd never read poetry. When you know, you know. Finally found my forever. Some people are worth the wait. I scrolled through the comments. Friends congratulating her, colleagues kissing up, a few brave souls asking variations of what happened to Garrett. Those comments had been deleted, but the gaps in the numbering gave them away. Then I saw the details. May 15th, live stream wedding from Napa Valley. Professional production, multiple camera angles, interactive chat feature. Everything perfect. Everything staged for maximum impact. Something clicked in my brain, cold and precise. I closed Instagram and opened my contacts. Found a number I hadn't used in years. Miles Brennan used to run logistics for our squadron before he retired to consulting. I'd helped him get a contract that saved his business back in 2018. He told me if I ever needed anything, call. I called. He picked up on the second ring, his voice warm and surprised. We caught up for 10 minutes. Then I explained what I needed. Not much, just a small favor. A name added to a consultant list. One guest, clean background, legitimate reason to be there. Miles was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed low and understanding. "You know what, Garrett," he said. "I think I can help you with that. Consider it done." I thanked him, hung up, finished my pint. The sun was setting over Cork Harbor, painting everything gold and orange. I wasn't going to the wedding. I didn't need to. But I was going to make sure it was memorable. Claire Pierce called me 3 days after I spoke with Miles. It was early morning in Cork, which meant late evening in Chicago. She never called without reason. My daughter inherited my tendency to be efficient with words. "Dad," she said when I picked up, no greeting. "I saw Mom's Instagram, the wedding, Wade Thompson. You know about this?" I walked out onto my cottage porch, phone pressed to my ear. Below, a street musician was setting up his fiddle. "I know." "And?" "And what?" "And are you okay?" Her voice softened slightly, the way it did when she was trying to read between my lines. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Better than fine. Your mother's choices aren't my concern anymore." Silence on the other end. Then, "Preston's going. He's standing up as one of the groomsmen. Wade asked him personally. Mom played it up as this big honor, blending families, new beginnings. Preston bought it completely. He thinks this proves Mom's moved on to something better." I closed my eyes. My son, 26 years old, smart enough to win court cases but blind to his mother's manipulations. "And you?" "I got an invitation. Very formal, very Brooke. I sent my regrets." She paused. "Dad, I've been doing some digging. Wade Thompson's medical practices. Something's not right. His expansion timeline doesn't match his revenue reports. I've seen this pattern before when I investigated healthcare fraud last year. This is why Claire was the best investigative journalist in Chicago. She saw patterns where others saw noise. "What did you find?" I asked. "Nothing concrete yet, but his growth rate requires serious capital. His credit lines are maxed. I think he's been using new investor money to pay old debts. Classic pyramid structure." "How long until it collapses?" 3 months? Maybe 4. There's also a malpractice lawsuit brewing. Former patient claiming botched procedures and cover-ups. It's being kept quiet, but I found the court filings. I looked out over Cork Harbor. A fishing boat was making its way toward the Atlantic, slow and deliberate. "Does your mother know?" "Of course not. She sees the lifestyle, the properties, the success. She never looks under the hood." Claire's voice turned harder. "Dad, Preston's tied to this. If Wade goes down publicly, it'll splash on everyone associated with him. His law firm won't appreciate their junior partner being connected to a fraud case." "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," she said slowly, "that someone should make sure the right information surfaces at the right time, before Preston gets in deeper." I smiled. My daughter, 29 years old, and already thinking 3 moves ahead. "You know I can't be involved in anything that looks like sabotage." "I know, but you also taught me that truth doesn't need help. It just needs timing." She paused. "I'm flying out there. Told Mom I changed my mind, that I want to support her new beginning." "Claire." "Dad, Preston's my brother. He's being an idiot, but he's my idiot. If this wedding's going to be memorable, I want to make sure he sees what's really happening before it's too late." I was quiet for a moment. "Be careful." "Always am." I could hear the smile in her voice. "Oh, and Dad, that consultant you arranged, Miles Brennan, very subtle, old school, elegant." "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Sure you don't. Love you, Dad." "Love you too, sweetheart." After she hung up, I sat on my porch for a long time. The musician below started playing something melancholy and beautiful. Tourists stopped to listen. The sun climbed higher. My daughter was going to her mother's wedding not to celebrate, but to document. And somewhere in California, a man named Miles Brennan was about to become the most important guest no one remembered inviting. The wedding was beautiful. Claire sent photos. Brooke in an ivory gown that probably cost more than my yearly cottage rent. Wade in a custom tuxedo looking like he'd stepped out of a luxury medical journal. The vineyard draped in white fabric and flowers. Everything perfect. Everything staged for the cameras. The ceremony went smoothly. Vows that sounded like they'd been written by a pharmaceutical company. Readings about partnership and success and building empires together. Preston Pierce stood beside Wade, smiling like this was exactly how life should look. Then came the reception live stream. Claire's texts came faster now. "Reception starting, 347 viewers online. Mom's maid of honor just cried on cue. Wade's brother made a joke about his expensive taste. Everyone laughed. Preston's up next. This should be painful." I waited 5 minutes 10. Then my phone rang. "Dad," Claire's voice was tight, urgent. "You need to hear this. I'm recording." She must have held her phone up because suddenly I could hear the reception. Preston's voice came through clearly, amplified by the professional audio system. "Wade Thompson is the kind of man we should all aspire to be," my son was saying. "He's built an empire through innovation and vision. He treats my mother like the queen she is. He showed me what real success looks like." He paused. "To Wade and Brooke, may your future be as bright as your past is forgotten, as your past is forgotten." The jab was clear. I was the past, the failure, the thing they'd moved beyond. Applause, clinking glasses. Then Claire's voice came back on. "Miles is up now. Here we go." The crowd noise settled. I heard someone clearing their throat. Then a voice, older, measured, carrying the kind of authority that made people listen. "Good evening, everyone. My name is Miles Brennan, and I've been consulting with the Thompson Medical Group for several months." The lie was delivered with perfect confidence. I wanted to take a moment to celebrate this union, but also to speak about something important: foundations. The reception went quieter. I could hear it through the phone. "Brooke, you look absolutely radiant. Wade, you've clearly made quite an impression." He paused. "I've been in business consulting a long time, seen a lot of partnerships, a lot of ventures. The ones that last are built on solid foundations, not appearances, not promises. Foundations." Another pause, longer this time. So I want to propose a toast to Brooke and her second chance at happiness. And to Garrett, wherever he is tonight, probably somewhere quiet, probably working with his hands, probably finally able to breathe. His voice carried across the vineyard like it was designed to. Brooke, I hope you're sure you traded up, darling, because from where I'm standing, reviewing the financials, it looks like you might have traded solid ground for quicksand. Dead silence, the kind that makes oxygen feel thick. But hey, Miles continued, voice lighter now. What do I know? I'm just an old consultant who believes in asking questions, like, how does someone open 4 medical practices in 18 months without traditional financing? Or why does a successful businessman need to restructure his credit lines every quarter? Or what happens when the FDA starts investigating those patient complaints? I could hear movement now, confusion, someone trying to get to the microphone. Anyway, Miles said, wrapping up smoothly, to the happy couple, may your forever be louder than your past, and may you both get exactly what you deserve. Then the line went chaotic. Voices overlapping, someone shouting, music starting up suddenly, too loud, trying to cover the disaster. Claire came back on, breathless. Dad, holy hell, Brooke just ran out. Wade's face is purple. Preston looks like he's been hit by a truck. The chat is exploding. Half the viewers are screen recording. The other half is asking what just happened. Where's Brooke now? Outside. I can see her through the window. She's pacing. She just pulled out her phone. Claire paused. Oh my God, she's calling someone. Dad, I think she's calling you. My phone buzzed. Brooke's name lit up the screen, a number I'd deleted but still recognized. I need to go, I told Claire. Keep an eye on your brother. He's going to need you. I switched calls. Brooke. You. Her voice was shaking with rage. You had someone crash my wedding. You set this up. You planted that man. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm in Ireland. Don't lie to me. That speech, those questions, that was you. You always were a coward, couldn't face me yourself, so you sent some hired gun to ruin my day. Your day isn't ruined because of me, Brooke. It's ruined because you built it on sand and called it bedrock. I hate you. I know, but that's not my problem anymore. I kept my voice calm. Go back to your wedding. Smile for the cameras. Do what you do best. Perform. Wade will what? I asked. Explain those questions away? Brooke, the man can't even explain his own business model. Good luck explaining your choices. She made a sound halfway between a sob and a scream. Then the line went dead. I set my phone down, looked out over Cork Harbor. The city lights reflected on the water like stars that had fallen and decided to stay. Across the Atlantic, my ex-wife's perfect wedding had just become unforgettable, and somewhere in that chaos, my son was beginning to ask the questions he should have asked months ago. The video hit the internet within hours. Someone at the wedding had live-streamed the entire reception on their personal social media. By morning Cork time, Miles's toast had 800,000 views. By evening, over 2 million. The caption read, "Wedding consultant destroys groom with financial facts. Wait for the ending." The comment section was ruthless. Did he just call her out for trading down? The way her face changes at 147 is everything. May your forever be louder than your past is the most elegant destruction I've ever witnessed. Claire sent me links. Dad, this is everywhere. Mom's name is trending. Wade's medical practices are getting calls. Patients are asking questions. The medical board opened an investigation. Then Preston called. Dad. His voice was different, smaller. We need to talk. I'm listening. Wade's practices are being audited. The lawsuit Miles mentioned, it was filed yesterday. Former patient claiming malpractice and financial fraud. The state medical board froze his licenses pending investigation. He paused. My firm called me in, asked about my relationship with Wade, asked if I had any knowledge of his business practices before the wedding. What did I tell them? The truth. That I didn't know. That I should have asked questions but didn't. His voice broke slightly. They're reviewing my association with Wade. Said my judgment might be compromised. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry, son. Are you? Because you knew. You knew this was coming and you let me walk into it anyway. I warned you to be careful, told you to verify everything. You called it sabotage. You could have told me the truth directly instead of playing games with planted consultants and cryptic warnings. Would you have listened? If I'd called and said Wade Thompson is a fraud, would you have believed me? Or would you have defended your mother and called me bitter? Silence, long and heavy. I don't know, he finally said. Maybe you're right. Maybe I wouldn't have listened. He exhaled, shaky. Claire's been helping me. She pulled all the public records, showed me everything. The lawsuits, the complaints, the pattern of fraud going back 4 years. It was all there. I just didn't want to see it. Your mother has that effect on people. She makes you want to believe her version of reality. She's not talking to me, Preston said quietly. I tried to call her, asked if she knew about Wade's problems. She said I was betraying her, that I was choosing your side. Then she hung up. I'm sorry. The video's everywhere, Dad. Everyone's seen it. People at work, friends, everyone. They're all asking if that's my mom, if I knew the wedding was going to implode. He laughed, bitter and sharp. I was the groomsman praising Wade. That's in the video, too. Me calling him my model of success. It's a meme now. This aged poorly, compilations. It'll pass. The internet moves fast. Will it? Because my career might not survive this. My judgment is publicly documented as terrible. Who's going to trust me with legal advice when I couldn't see a fraud standing right in front of me? We talked for another 20 minutes. He asked about Ireland, about my woodworking, about whether I was happy. I told him the truth that I was, that leaving was the hardest and best decision I'd ever made. When we hung up, I stood on my cottage porch watching fishing boats return to harbor. The sun was setting, painting everything gold. My son had called me Dad again, had apologized, had seen through his mother's performance to the truth underneath. Across the Atlantic, Brooke's perfect wedding was viral for all the wrong reasons. Wade's empire was collapsing in real time. And my son was learning that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who can't see you clearly. I poured a glass of whiskey, raised it toward the ocean. To truth, I said aloud, and to the courage to face it. Wade Thompson's medical practices filed for bankruptcy 3 months after the wedding. The investigation became public record. Malpractice, insurance fraud, using patient fees to fund a lifestyle that made Vegas high rollers look conservative. The news coverage was extensive. Brooke's name was in every article. Wife of disgraced Dr. Wade Thompson. Surgeon married to fraud suspect. Her medical practice quietly asked her to take a leave of absence. Patient calls dropped by 80% in 2 weeks. Claire sent me the court documents. I read them over morning coffee on my porch. The house Brooke and Wade had bought together, 3 mortgages deep. The cars leased at rates that suggested desperation. The joint accounts emptied by creditors within 72 hours of the bankruptcy filing. Everything Brooke thought she'd gained by marrying Wade disappeared faster than it had appeared. 6 months after the wedding, things started settling into a new normal. Wade was indicted on 23 counts of fraud. Brooke sold the house at a significant loss, moved into a small apartment in a neighborhood she used to call transitional. Her medical license was suspended pending an ethics investigation. Preston calls me every Sunday now. We talk for an hour, sometimes more. His firm moved him to a different department, smaller cases, less visibility. He told me it was humbling but necessary. I'm learning to ask questions I should have asked years ago, he said during one call. Not just about legal matters, about people, about myself. Claire is thriving. Her investigation into medical fraud won awards. She'd been promoted twice. When I told her Preston was visiting, she said she'd try to coordinate a trip around the same time. Family reunion in Cork, she said. That would have been unthinkable a year ago. I met someone. Her name's Nora Campbell, 51 years old, Irish, owns a small bookshop near the harbor. We met when I wandered in looking for carpentry manuals, and she recommended Irish poetry instead. You live here now, she said in her Cork accent. You should understand the language of this place. Nora was widowed. Her husband died 4 years earlier. She understood loss and rebuilding. We compared notes like architects discussing foundations. The second time you build something, she said, you build it better because you know what actually holds weight. Preston visited 3 months later. We worked together in Seamus's workshop, me learning traditional joinery, him asking questions about wood grain and tool techniques. At dinner that night, he pulled me aside. She's wonderful, Dad. Nora, I mean. Completely different from Mom. She actually listens when you talk. She does. Are you happy? I thought about it, the question I'd stopped asking myself years ago. Yes, I am. Really, genuinely happy. Good. You deserve that. Last month, Preston called with news. He'd passed the bar exam in Ireland. I'm thinking of relocating, he said. Maybe open a practice here. Work with you on expanding your woodworking business. What business expansion? Dad, your pieces are getting noticed. Nora's been selling them in her shop. People are asking for custom work. You could build something real here. 2 weeks later, Preston moved to Cork. We work together now, me crafting furniture, him handling the business side. It's honest work. Work that builds something instead of tearing down. Brooke never called again. I heard she filed for bankruptcy herself. The lawsuits, the debt, the underwater investments. She couldn't recover. Her parents helped her relocate to Arizona, far from Colorado's memories. One evening, Nora and I were sitting on my cottage porch. The sun was setting over Cork Harbor, painting everything in shades of amber and rose. She was reading Irish poetry aloud. I was sketching her profile. You know what I love about you? She said suddenly. Tell me. You're present. Completely present. Not performing, not planning 3 steps ahead, just here. Took me 58 years to learn that. Better late than never. She smiled. Will Preston be joining us for dinner Sunday? He's bringing someone. Her name's Tessa Bryant. She's a nurse at the local hospital. Nothing glamorous, nothing flashy. She's just real. We sat watching the harbor turn from gold to silver as the sun disappeared. Ships passed, heading for open water. Seabirds called. The village settled into its evening rhythm. I thought about the man I'd been. Stressed, suffocating, dying slowly in a beautiful house with a woman who never saw him. That man felt like someone I'd known in passing but never understood. This man, sitting on a porch in Ireland with a woman who knew his present better than his past, was someone I'd fought to become. Someone who chose peace over performance, truth over image, foundation over facade. My phone buzzed. Text from Preston. Tessa said yes, we're engaged. Can we have the wedding here in Cork? Small, real, just people who matter. I showed Nora the message. She smiled, eyes bright. Tell him yes, she said. Tell him we'd be honored. I typed back. Congratulations, son. Cork sounds perfect. We'll make it beautiful. The right kind of beautiful. His response came immediately. Thanks, Dad, for everything. For showing me what real strength looks like. I set my phone down, looked at Nora, at the harbor, at the village I'd chosen to call home. This is good, I said. Yes, Nora agreed. This is very good. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop, wasn't planning an exit, wasn't bracing for chaos. I was just living fully, honestly, on solid ground. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemies. It's walking away from battles that were never worth fighting and discovering who you become when you stop performing for people who never really saw you.